Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films, back again with Merlin. Last time on Merlin, we had a remedy to cure all ills. So this dude named Edwin came to Camelot after Morgana had become quite ill. Unbeknownst to everyone, it was Edwin who actually made her ill, because what he wanted to do was get into Camelot, depose Gaius, and basically get him fired from his job as court physician, and then ultimately kill Uther. And no one realized this except for Gaius, so Gaius really had to do everything he could to save the day, and then, yeah, at the end, he did, he did confront Edwin, and then Edwin started to beat him, and then Merlin came in and was like, whoa, what the... And then Edwin threw an axe, and then Merlin caught it with magic and threw it right back. Merlin cut a bitch. And then Merlin actually saved Uther, who was paralyzed and unconscious because of this weird magical bug thing that Edwin put in him. Yeah, that's basically that. It was an interesting episode altogether. This is where I say no spoilers in the comments whatsoever. Just don't. And yeah, before we can get into the reaction though, due to copyright troubles, the reaction cannot be posted here on YouTube, but if you want to go watch that reaction, head down in the description, you'll find a link, you'll go right over there, watch the 10-minute highlight reaction, and when you're done with that, you can head on back to this original video here on YouTube and watch the discussion. So yeah, if you want to go watch the reaction highlight, head down to the description. So yeah. Let's get into this episode of Merlin. Here we go. Okay. Good episode, but I kind of want her in the loop on things. I want her... Like, obviously, she's still going to have to keep it a secret from Uther, but... Merlin already does that. Merlin and Gaius already do that about Merlin's powers. So, I want her to be in on it. They can be keeping secrets from Uther buddies. That'd be fun. Oy. Alright. But it was a good episode. Fucking Arthur. They always go after Arthur. Why is it always fucking Arthur? Oy. Well, I guess he's the best target. Okay. Alright, let's just go over the notes. Alright, my hair should be alright. Notes. Okay. So the first thing I wrote down was the visions. We haven't really touched on the visions in a little while. You know, we did have one of her visions in episode 2. She saw Arthur dying to Knight Valiant. So, the thing about that one, though, was that she didn't fully see that. She interpreted her vision as Arthur was going to die when he faces Knight Valiant. But it obviously didn't end up happening that way. And the same thing can be said here. She saw Arthur in the water, unconscious and starting to drown, and Sophia standing over him. What she didn't happen to see was Merlin fucking murdering them. Which we'll talk about that in a second. Like, damn. But yeah, so we really only had the one vision in episode 2, but even that was, like, not huge, I guess. Like, it was just kind of there, and, like, it just, I don't know, it happened, she had the vision, and then that was that. I guess it was more of a tease as to things to come. But immediately I picked up on it in that episode. I was like, she is having visions. I was like, that's really interesting. And we did kind of we had a huge discussion on, are her visions reality, or is it just how she interprets it? And we went into the whole thing of, is this technically what the dragon sees also? Does the dragon also have visions, but interprets it as prophecy, whereas Morgana doesn't really know what to interpret them as? She just kind of, she really takes the visions at face value, She takes them at face value. Both times she thought Arthur is going to die. But then that just ended up not being the case. What she saw technically did happen, but what she did not see Arthur dying. She saw Arthur drowning. So that's the thing. So yeah, that's interesting. I wrote down the stocks. That was funny. That was kind of the running joke of the episode, that Uther kept putting Merlin in the stocks because Merlin had to keep covering for Arthur while he basically went on dates with Sophia. That was kind of interesting. And I love how quick the editing was on that. Just as soon as yeah, I think I'm really getting the hang of this whole lying thing. Immediate cut to him being pelted in the stocks. That's funny. And then, Uther being like, is there something mentally wrong with you, boy? Because he has to keep giving the lie of, well, I just forgot to tell you that Arthur is doing something. So, yeah. Excuse me. I wrote down the Gates of Avalon, which is, it's the title of this episode. They don't really play too big of a role in the episode, though. The whole thing is, let me look at the cast here. Was that how you spelled she? Sidhe? Really? Alright. Okay, if you say so. The cast list on here is very interesting. Because right now it lists John Hurt first. John Hurt wasn't even in this episode. But it's John Hurt, then Bradley James, then Holiday Granger. It's out of order from how it actually is. Technically Colin Morgan should be first. Also, this girl that played Sophia, she looks familiar. Huh. I could have sworn. Oh, well. Okay, so the Gates of Avalon was really just the gateway to the She realm. And, which, it's interesting, they called them She's, but it's you could have just called them fairies. They were very obviously fairies. Fucking fairies every time. Between this and Torchwood, fairies suck. So yeah, the Gates of Avalon was really just a thing, pass through the Gates of Avalon to reclaim an immortal life, basically. But Ulfric couldn't go through because he killed another she, but he didn't really care about that. What he cared about was that Sophia could pass through and regain her immortality. Okay. It's kind of... I guess that's kind of interesting. I don't know. That one, it's especially for the episode to be named after this, named The Gates of Avalon. We really just didn't have a whole lot about it. So yeah. And again, not that this was bad or anything, but it's I don't know. It's just kind of interesting, having with our villains. Again, they're going after Arthur, and then, really just to sacrifice him. Which, honestly, they could have gone with any prince, I think. The way they kind of said it, it's they just needed a prince. They needed to sacrifice a prince. Don't know why it's a prince. And the prince they went with was Arthur. Like, they could have gone anywhere. Although, I suppose that's where the Gates of Avalon were. So... And there was something, like... Gaius was saying, like... There was something he was saying, like... A person normally sees the Gates of Avalon before they die? But then Merlin was fine, like he said. Though, I guess he basically chalked that up to... Merlin's powers. Like, that's what saved him from the blast, basically. So I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna see what he said about the whole... About the gates.
Avalon. What you saw at the lake. It's Avalon, it must be. What's the land of eternal youth?
Right.
Mortals are only supposed to glimpse it the moment before death.
Well, that fucking sucks. Okay, so it's the land of eternal youth. Mortals are only supposed to glimpse it the moment before death. Why? Oh, alright. It's kind of a dick move. Like, oh, you're dying? Well, here's where you could have been eternally youthful. Too bad. It's like, wow, that's a fuck you to mortals, apparently. Alright. I wrote down true form / she. I guess to kind of talk about the villains, Sophia and Ulfric. They were okay. They were a pretty typical, magical villains, but they didn't really have any tie. They really didn't have any tie to Arthur or to Camelot. Like, when we've had... Can I see the... Well, I guess I'd have to look at that for the episodes. How much have we had? Okay, we had the Witch, Knight Valiant. The Witch, Valiant, Nimue, twice. And then the Griffin, and then Edwin. Yeah, so this is kind of the first one where it's like... It's not really tied to Camelot. Like, the Witch wanted to take out Arthur to get revenge on Uther. Knight Valiant wanted to become a Knight of Camelot and then kill Arthur for some fucking reason. Nimue, obviously connected to Camelot. The Griffin, no, but that's just a Griffin. It was just a beast. And then Edwin was connected to Camelot through Gaius and Uther. So yeah, this was the first one. It's like they just kind of came to Camelot. Like they just chose... They kind of like arbitrarily chose Arthur to be the prince they were going to kill. So it's okay. It's interesting, but they are sort of our, more... I don't really want to say generic, but our sort of run-of-the-mill, freak-of-the-week villains that we've kind of been having. Yeah, I thought they were okay. I mean, yes, they are obviously a little frustrating when they try to sway... when they use their spells to enchant Arthur. Yeah, and that kind of... I don't know, I feel like they didn't do as much with that as they could have. It's like they... Because, when they were saying, it's like, oh, nothing will become... When Arthur was saying, like, nothing will come between us, it's like, that's pretty dangerous because Arthur is the best fighter. If anyone comes between them, he could kill them, basically. So, yeah. So that was interesting. So yeah, I thought they were okay, and then the reveal that it's like, oh, they're from Avalon, the place of eternal youth. Like, alright. I guess it's interesting off backstory. Excuse me. I guess I kind of like that they kind of, that they added in the whole... like thing about okay, only Sophia is going to be able to go back. Like they did add in that thing where it's like, okay, the Ulfric can't go back. He's accepted that. He's accepted that part of his fate. I thought that was actually a little interesting. But yeah, overall they were all right villains, I gotta say. Fucking Uther, man. In that marriage scene, he shut them the fuck down, didn't he? Like, that was amazing watching him just shut them down completely. Yeah, I really like that. that he just completely like, just like, you've only known her for 2 days. This is stupid. You're stupid. And it's like, I like that. And I like even with Arthur being enchanted and okay, if I can finish my thought. Arthur being enchanted and being like, nothing will come between us and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you know what will come between them? His father. It's like, I kind of like that he's honestly a little bit more scared of his father than he is in love with Sophia. And yes, you know, they were going to go with the whole, you know, like, oh, well, they'll just go elope, basically. It's like, at the same time, it's like, no, that the fear of his father still worked. It's like, that was crazy. That whole scene, just Uther fucking taking them down. I really like that, actually. And it totally makes sense why Morgana does not want to tell Uther about her powers. It's like, yeah, that is the person you do not want to tell. You should tell Merlin and Gaius, maybe, and probably Gwen too. And then probably you could probably tell Arthur. He might be alright with it. But we're not really sure about that. But yeah, Uther, no, you really don't want to do that. You really don't want to tell Uther, because damn, it's like, it is incredible, you know, when they said, it's like, his love for you is not greater than his hatred of magic. It's like, fuck, that's scary, man. That is fucking scary. It's like, this is, you know, his ward, you know, who is basically like a daughter to him, and he's been taking care of her since she was a little girl, and even still, he will fucking kill her if she has powers. Like, that's fucking terrifying, man. So yeah. And then the last thing I wrote down was, Merlin fucking murdered them. Like, I know we talked about that last episode, you know, with the whole Merlin cut a bitch, which he did. Merlin did cut a bitch. You know, Merlin killed Edwin, but goddamn, he fucking disintegrated them. Merlin's a fucking murderer, and I love it. You know, for this family-friendly show where all of you guys were like, oh, Merlin, that's my childhood right there. It's like, yeah, your childhood is a fucking murderer. Can I just say that? And see, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I keep seeing that in British television. Between this and like the Sarah Jane Adventures and Doctor Who, it's like, yeah, you British kids, you guys kind of got dark when you were kids. That would have been a no-go when I was a kid. Like, maybe nowadays you could get away with that, but I mean, he straight up murdered them. Like, that was one step away from just stabbing them and seeing their corpse. Like, that was crazy, man. And I think Merlin did air in the United States for a little while, but I don't know, man. I don't see how that could have gotten by in America. The Americans... See, America thinks we're sensitive. That's the thing. Like, there was no sort of thing about murder when I was a kid. Like, anime with any sort of murder or violence or guns or cigarettes, no. That was all censored. And if you don't believe me, go check out One Piece. Go check out any 4Kids dub, really. Go check out, like, you know, the frothy mug of water in Dragon Ball. Like, that was a no-go. Like, you couldn't do that. Like, anime would, like, dubbed animes would make up, like, a hellish landscape that people went to when they died, or when they were defeated in a card game or something, like the Shadow Realm. But they did that specifically instead of dying. No one died when I was a kid. So the fact that I am watching this show that so many people have told me was their childhood, I'm watching this show. Merlin fucking murders people. Merlin the murderer. That's what he ought to be called. He's a fucking murderer, but I love it. It's amazing, man. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. And it's so much fun when I get to go off on stuff like this. It's like, this, I don't think this would have flown when I was a kid. The fact that he straight up murdered 2 people. Like, straight, like, didn't give them a chance, didn't, like, try to incapacitate them or nothing. It's like, no, he killed them. He straight up killed them, but I love that. But yeah, overall, pretty good episode, I will say. Pretty good episode. I'm curious to see where we go from here. I'm curious to see if Merlin will kill again, which he probably will. So yeah. Yeah, I think that's basically that. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to check out more of my Merlin reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.